Okay, let's do 9.1a. In this section, we're going to understand and find equations of, let's write the word parallel here, parallel. And again, this may be some review, at least to start with, but that's totally okay. We want to make sure that we've got these things down. What is the slope formula if we have a graph? Well, that slope formula involves two R words. It's the rise over the run. Got to make sure that we have that. Again, always the rise on the top. That rhymes with y's, and the y's go on top. So we're going to do m equals, if we've got 2 points, points are xy pairs, so always a good idea to put the minus on the top and bottom because that's part of the formula. And remember, it's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And then slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. And then let's see the x-coordinate of all y-intercepts. So remember, if we're crossing the y-axis here, 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 or here, any one of those places, we didn't go right or left, so that means the x-coordinate's always going to be 0. It's going to be 0 comma something up here and 0 comma something down here, okay? So either way, we're going to get an x-coordinate of 0. And then what's the equation of a horizontal line? Well, remember, horizontal is like this. It's flat like the horizon. That is always y equals a number. It's going to tell us where it crosses the y-axis. So that's going to be y equals a number right here. Let's say y equals 7 or something like that. And then if it's vertical, that means it's straight up and down. It's going to be an x equals a number. No, those seem a little bit counterintuitive, but you got to make sure you get straight how this works. If we've got a vertical line, this would be x equals a number because it crosses the x-axis right there. So remember, if there's only one variable, the variable tells you which axis it crosses. So if we've got y equals a number, it crosses the y-axis, okay? So it's perpendicular to it. And if we've got x equals a number, it crosses the x-axis again, so it's perpendicular to it. Okay, a couple more reminders. Remember, if they want us to write the equation of a line, they've got to give us at least 1 point, and they've got to give us the slope. And if they don't give us enough information to figure out the slope, if they don't give us the slope, they've got to give us enough information to figure that out. So, reminder about parallel and perpendicular lines. Parallel lines have slopes that are exactly the same. Perpendicular lines have slopes that are opposite reciprocals. When we say opposite reciprocals, what we mean is they have to be opposite signs. One's got to be positive and one's got to be negative, okay? And when we get reciprocals down here, and they've got to be, if they're fractions, they're like flipped over from one another, okay? And then don't forget that horizontal and vertical, horizontals like this, verticals like this, those are perpendicular to each other. Again, notice the symbol's made up of a horizontal and a vertical line. And then if lines aren't parallel and they're not perpendicular, then we just say they're neither. There's just 3 categories for these. Okay, so let's do a warm-up question right here. Determine whether the lines defined by the points or equations are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. And it says you'll only need to find the slope. That's the only thing that slope depends on. It doesn't care what the points are. It doesn't care what the y-intercept is or anything like that. All we care about is what the slope is. So let's take a look at this one right here. Now, this first one, you'll notice it looks kind of funky. We have the y on this side and then the x and the number over here. Well, if you think about it, this is in slope-intercept form. We just need to kind of do a big pancake flip with this. So this is going to be y equals, I'm going to write x plus 2, because remember, by convention, we write the x first. The number in front here is 1, so this has a slope of 1. So I'm going to put a circle around that. We're going to keep track of that. The slope of that line, really don't care what the y-intercept is. The slope is 1. This one, we've got to move it around. So I'm going to move the 4x to the other side. We're going to add 4x over here. So add the 4x. So we get 4y equals, those are going to cancel. Again, I'll write the x first. And then we're going to divide everything by 4. Every term on both sides gets divided by 4. So this is going to be y equals 4 over 4, that's a 1x. And then this happens to be negative 1/2, but that doesn't matter. What we care about from this is we care that the slope of this is 1. So the fact that the two of those are exactly the same, because they're the same, that means this is going to be parallel. So I'm going to write parallel right here, put a box around that. That's our answer. Now I'm going to switch colors to come over here and take a look at this one. If you haven't seen this before, this is what's called function notation. You'll do that at some point in the year if you haven't seen it already. Just imagine that this is just a y. Okay, so pretend that's a y. So this is in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. So that means the slope of this one, they gave us a little treat here, slope is 3. Now we want to take a look at this other one. We've got to get the y by itself so we can tell what the slope is. So we're going to subtract 2x. Again, we'll put the x first. So this is going to be 6y negative 2x plus 51. Not our favorite number there, 51, but we can deal with it. Okay, so those are going to cancel. We're going to have y equals. Now, if you need a calculator to simplify this fraction, you're welcome to grab one. 2 goes in here once, 2 goes in here 3 times. This is negative 1/3, really important that you don't lose the negative. And then it really doesn't matter what this is. If this is a fraction or a decimal or a whole number, it doesn't make any difference. We've got what we came for, so it really doesn't matter about this. What we wanted is we wanted to know what the slope is, and the slope of this is negative 1/3. So if we take a look at the two of those, this is 3 and this is 1/3, negative 1/3. If you wanted to, you could write that as 3 over 1. So notice these are opposite signs and they're reciprocals of each other. This is 3 over 1, that's 1 over 3. So they are opposite reciprocals. Now you don't have to write that, but you do need to write down that these are perpendicular. Now, if you get to a point where you're writing on paper and you just want to write down what the symbol is, parallel would be here, perpendicular would be here. That wouldn't be the end of the world. Okay, we're going to take a look at this last one. Now, for this one, I'm going to blow this up just a little bit, so I've got plenty of room here. What we need to do is we need to find the slopes. So we've got a line that goes through these 2 points and a line that goes through these 2 points. So I'm going to find the slope here by doing that little y2 minus y1. So the y's are going to go on the top. So sometimes I like to draw these lines right here so I get them right. I'm doing the 6 minus 5 on the top. That means I'm doing the 1 minus 1 on the bottom. So that gives me a 1 on the top, and then this would be a plus. That's going to be a 2. So the slope on this one is 1/2. Okay, so we're in good shape there. And then I'll take a look at this one. Again, I'm going to do the formula is y2 minus y1. I'm going to put the minus in there, and I'm going to do y2 minus y1, so 0 minus 4. And then I'm going to do the x2 minus x1, so that's going to be 4 minus 4, so negative 4 on the top, and then this is going to be a plus, so that's going to be 8 on the bottom. So I get negative 4 over 8. Definitely want to reduce that all the way because they don't look anything like each other right now. So this is going to be negative 1/2. So what I've got here, and I take a good look at this, because a lot of people will look at this and go, oh, they're the same, they're parallel, but they are not exactly the same because this one is negative. Okay, so they can't be parallel. The other thing you'll notice is they're not opposite reciprocals. If we were going to do the reciprocal of 1/2, opposite reciprocal would be negative, and the reciprocal of 1/2 would be 2. That's not what this is. So this is neither. They're not the same. They're not opposite reciprocals, so that's going to be neither right there. Okay? All right, let's come down here and take a look at this. I think this is the last one on this page. We'll do a couple on the back, and then we'll have you all set to go. What we've got here is 2 problems in one. It says use the line x minus 2y equals 3 to write the slope-intercept form of the line that is parallel to the line above and goes through this point, or perpendicular to the line above and goes through that same point. So the only thing that we need from this is we just need to know what the slope is so that we can be parallel or perpendicular to it. So I'm going to subtract x from both sides. That's going to give me negative 2y equals negative x and then plus 3. We're going to divide by negative 2. Now, it doesn't matter what this is. What matters is we get y equals, that would be positive 1/2 x. This happens to be negative 3/2, but again, we don't care about that. This is what we care about. We care that the slope on this one is 1/2. That's what we care about. And if it's going to be parallel, the slope is going to be exactly the same. So that's going to be 1/2. And if it's going to be perpendicular, it's got to be the opposite reciprocal. So the opposite reciprocal, let's see, opposite of positive is negative. And the reciprocal of 1 over 2 is 2 over 1. Now, if you want to write 2 over 1, you're welcome to, but it's kind of silly to because then we've got fractions when we don't need them. Let's just leave it like that. So here's what we've got. Y equals, this would be 1/2 x plus b. We're going to plug the y in here and the x in there. So the 5 is going to go right there. The 2 is going to go right here. So 5 equals 1/2 times 2 plus b. Ooh, and something nice happens here. Look at this. The 2's will cancel. If you do 1/2 times 2 on your calculator, you're going to get 1. So we get a 1 right here. We'll subtract the 1, and we get a 4. So we get b equals 4. So we've got the slope. We've got the y-intercept. So this is going to be y equals 1/2 x plus 4. That's the equation that's parallel. Okay, so there's our parallel one. Now, for perpendicular, let's take a look. For perpendicular, we end up with y equals, this would be negative 2x plus b. And again, we're going to plug the y in here, so the 5 is going to go right here. Negative 2 times whatever the x is 2, so we're going to put that. And let's see, we get 5 equals, just be careful with the simplification here. Negative 2 times 2 is negative 4, and then we're going to add 4 to both sides. So we get this, a 9 over here and b over here, so this is what we've got. We know what the y-intercept is now. We knew what the slope was a few minutes ago, so we get y equals negative 2x and then plus 9. So that's the one that's perpendicular. Okay, so we got 2 answers off that. So let's take a look at the backside. Okay, if we take a look at the backside, we'll notice that on this problem we've got a different equation. We want to write the answers in slope-intercept form. We want one parallel to that line that goes through that point, perpendicular to that line that goes through that same point. So let's take a look here. We've got to figure out what the slope is. So again, we're going to move the x to the other side. So this is going to be 4y equals negative 5x plus 1. Again, don't really care about the 1. What we're really trying to do is we're trying to get that y by itself. So we've got negative 5/4 x. That happens to be 1/4, but what we really care about is this right here. So the slope on this line is negative 5/4. So we've got negative 5/4 for a slope on that one. That gives us a huge amount of information. Let's come over here. If it's going to be parallel to that, the slope's got to be exactly the same. So that's going to be negative 5/4. If it's going to be perpendicular to that slope would be the opposite reciprocal. So it's going to be positive, and we're going to flip that over. So that's going to be 4/5. Okay, so what we've got so far is we know we've got to have negative 5/4 for the slope. We don't know the y-intercept, but we're going to plug in this x and this y. Again, make sure you get them in the right order. The y is going to go right there. The x is going to go right there. Very common thing for people to do is put 6 here and 1 there. And that's, 6 here and 1 there, and that's not the right way to go. So we want to go 1 equals negative 5/4 times 6 plus b. Anytime you want to break out your calculator, you're welcome to. So this is going to be, if I multiply this is, I'm going to cross cancel some things. 2 goes in here twice, 2 goes in here 3 times. So this is going to be negative 15/2 plus b. Then we're going to add 15/2. So we're going to add 15/2 to both sides. Again, always, if you're struggling, just use your calculator for the fraction arithmetic. 1 plus 15/2, double check that on your calculator. That would be 2/2 right here. So this is going to be 17/2. So I have the y-intercept, I have the slope up here. I have the y-intercept down here. So what I end up with is y equals negative 5/4 x and then plus 17/2. Now, if you end up with a fraction, that's totally okay. The great part about this is we don't have to graph anything, so that'll be kind of awesome. So let's take a look at this one right here. Same type of thing. We're just using the slope that would make this perpendicular. So x plus b. Now, if you can skip to this point right here, you're totally welcome to. I'm going to put a 1 right here. I mean, if you could skip to this, that's fine. I'm going to put a 6 right here, because that's where the x is. So this is 1 equals, if I multiply here, nothing cross cancels. So this is 24/5 plus b. I'm going to subtract here. So if I subtract here, 24/5 minus 24/5, let's see, we get b over here. That would be 5/5 minus 24/5. If you just want to go ahead and type that in your calculator, you're going to end up with negative 19/5. So again, we've got the y-intercept right here. We had the slope to begin with. So we've got y equals 4/5 x. Again, don't forget the x. Some people get carried away and just leave that. And then minus 19/5. And that right there would be the answer. Okay, you've got several problems on Alex like that. And let's take a look at a few more really quickly. What is parallel to horizontal? So horizontal is like this. Parallel to horizontal would also be horizontal. Okay, so that would be horizontal. What is perpendicular to horizontal? Well, again, horizontal is like this, and perpendicular to that would be this. So that would be vertical is perpendicular to horizontal. Now, the reason we want that is because we might run into a problem something like this. We want a linear equation that goes through 3 comma negative 2 that's perpendicular to y equals 1, and then we want one that's parallel to y equals 1. So let's do a little graph right here. 3, negative 2. 1, 2, 3. down 2. So this is our point. That point is 3 comma negative 2. And we want one that's perpendicular to y equals 1. Well, we got to remember what y equals 1 looks like. Remember, y equals a number is horizontal because it crosses the y-axis at 1. So we're going to put the line right here. That's the horizontal line, y equals 1. Okay, we want to be perpendicular to that. Well, perpendicular to that would be like this. It would be vertical. Okay, so remember, perpendicular to horizontal is vertical. We're looking at this case right here. Let's draw a line that's straight up and down, but it's got to go through that point right there. Okay, well, remember, if it's vertical, that's going to be x equals a number. So which one do you think it is? It's either this coordinate or that coordinate. Well, it's got to be the x coordinate right here. It's going to be x equals 3. And if you stop and think about it, that makes sense. It's going to cross at 1, 2, 3. My graph doesn't look quite right here. 1, 2, 3. It's going to cross the x-axis at 3. Then we want one parallel to y equals 1. So parallel to y equals 1 would be another line that's horizontal, but we want it to go through right here. So I'm going to color this one. This one's going to go like this. That's going to be y equals a number. Well, what number would it equal? Well, it's not going to equal the x. It's going to equal the y. So this is going to be y equals negative 2. Again, this is the origin right here. This is 0, 0. Okay, so it crosses the y-axis down 2. So it's going to be y equals negative 2. Those can take a little while to figure out and make sure that you've got those straight, but those are really good problems. Again, quick reminder that you can always look at those videos that are on there to see how to do a problem. And then reminder before I forget it, as soon as you're done with the ALEKS assignment, hop on and master the topics from this unit. You can always find a current list of topics for the unit that we're working on Canvas. It's usually number 7 if you just click that list. This particular one, we're in 9, so it'll show you the ones that you can master once you sort and filter to the goal topics. Okay, let's take a look at this one. It says 3 equations of lines are given, or we've got enough to figure out what the slope is. And we want to find out whether they're parallel, perpendicular, or neither. So for that, we need to figure out what the slope is on each one of these. Well, one of these, they gave us a huge gift. This one right here, it's already in slope-intercept form. You know the slope is 3. So we've got that taken care of. This one, we could move it around pretty quickly. I'm going to subtract 6x from both sides. So we get negative 2y equals negative 6x minus 6. Again, we don't really care about that, negative 6. What we really care about is the fact that this is y equals negative divided by negative is positive. That's going to be 3x. Doesn't matter what this is. What we want is that slope right there. So the slope is 3. So we've got that one. Last one we need to figure out is what the slope is between these. And for that, we're going to use that formula we were talking about before. So let's find out what the slope is. Let's do y2 minus y1. So that's going to be 4 minus 8. x2 minus x1, that's going to be negative 2 minus 2. That's going to be a plus, so this is going to be a 12. That's going to be minus 2 minus 2. That's going to be a negative 4, so we end up with a slope of negative 3. Okay, so let's take a look at this. We've got all 3 slopes. Looks like we've got some promising things here. It says line 1 and 2. So line 1 and 2 has a slope of 3 here and a slope of 3 here. Well, they're exactly the same, so that's going to be parallel. Lines 1 and 3. So 1 and 3. One would be this one and this one. Well, if you notice, the two of those are, well, they're the same number, but they're opposite signs. So they're not exactly the same. They can't be parallel, and they're not reciprocals of each other. So this is going to be neither right here. And then if we take a look at this guy right here, let's see, 2 and 3. Well, since this one's 3, just like that one was, we've got 3 and negative 3. That one's going to be neither also. Okay? All right. Good luck on the assignment.